So like definitely not experience right now as for like Ash and Go right now it's like missing from the whole in like hotel loan roads like the reason for like Ash and Go missing would be like another thing definitely as would be definitely right now might have gone to like train by himself for this like upcoming Ash was beyond championship ultimate training that and in the case of Go and also definitely Go would have totally gone to like focus like Pokemon catching. It's definitely my opinion. So Go would have gone off to like catch more Pokemon. It's definitely my opinion. And as for like the mysterious person or like Pokemon that like basically like is trying to like unlock the phone of Go. Like first of all, my impression that the call from Survey or like Quilon, like the serious member of like the product Mew, by the name Quilon, like number different kids called to let go right now won't definitely be like for to like actually for like go to like for the actual project new mission like actual chasing and search for to find new that actual main mission like I'm definitely it won't be starting right now. You know, but like right now I'm definitely like the chase to like find new in like the main project new mission that I'm definitely only happening like after like Ashes Championship that because like Leon will be over. Definitely my preference. So like right now I'm definitely like the call from Twitter to go would be most likely for the pre their like next big stuff in like the mission that would be like seen as most likely seen by like the leader of the party as like it would be according to his order that basically they might have pretty much on that right now like they might have initially actually might have been intended to like basically just like the all I think like four stages of system. But I think there are a total of four stages. So like once like all the stages were like selected like the very next thing might have they might have initially intended to like straight away begin to chase and search to like find and capture me. It definitely might be brain different. But like I'm considering solely right now I'm considering like the lead of like the person because he might have had like a change of plan after like the recent whole thing with like Firon I think like having and so like I think like having seen like Reggie Giga recently like I'm considering like solely due to that, like I'm just wondering, like, and like the leader might have been informed about like them seeing Rebigira. So like I'm just wondering, like the leader might have decided to like prepare, like do a final bit of like a preparation before like they would all before like all the cases and himself, like the leader, like basically would be going off to like capture to find and capture new like I'm just wondering, like has like a final bit of preparation right now with like Quilon right now calling Bond for I'm saying like we don't know be most likely calling on to like tell John about like that fine like that like that project mission which would be most likely to like capture Reggie Giga to have a rain battle and possibly capture Reggie Giga's like that as like a preparation final to mission before like the main final mission of like capture who's like the scenario that I'm in. So like right now it's like you don't calling John like you don't be calling John to like tell John about like the chatting of like the regime the mission project mission for in which like John as well as like the remaining stages will be taking part of. So definitely my it will be just like John and like the remaining stages that will taking part in that capture regime missions definitely with the mission. So still as well definitely will be important in that mission also definitely with the mission. So and right now, as for like the mysterious person or like Pokemon that's trying to like that's trying to like unlock those phone like but different that would be like a Pokemon and that Pokemon would be most likely Gengar. If I can remember correctly, it would look like Gengar might have not left just as wild as might have went to train like or like I'm sure like Gengar maybe like in between like, as training like Gengar might have always felt lazy and so like Gengar might have decided to like head back to like the hotel long road where to like Ash's room in like the hotel and basically to take to relax there. And that might have been especially when like those forms might have arrived, like the form from like Ceylon might have happened, especially when the so like right now my best friend that like it could be like Jenga that would be trying to like unlock those forms, especially when it's rainbow. So like I'm just trying like Jenga right now with like two attempts of like Jenga to like unlock the password of those forms going around. Like I'm just trying like Jenga like the third time as well getting like the password wrong and basically that way like and those forms getting unlocked and getting locked. So a man of like the scenario that I'm going to try. So like my good impressions were like by the time Go would be returning back, like Go would be seeing like all this like great number of missed calls from Quidon and basically uh Go won't be able to like unlock the phone at that point and Go will be finding out like that will like eventually go and actually like finding out that it was like Kenga is like the scenario that I'm going to rolling and definitely I'm also putting like Go would be like totally and also like using like Ash's like a open phone to like basically call like the scenario that I'm going to play. So like through Ash's open phone I'm also putting like for finding out about like this like Proj.Mew mission which would be like the reason for like calling Go. So it's definitely my go-to approach. So like I'm also putting the at that point for like go to be late for that first mission. Like I'm going to like not going to like them deciding not to like wait for go until go shows up. Uh, so like I'm preparing them beginning like their whole the chase of like the I think like there are three. Uh, I mean like definitely like the current total chase of that have been selected like them totally beginning like their product new missions to like basically find and capture the giga before like go even arrive like the scenario that ended. So that by the time Go will be finally through access Protobone will be able to like call Quidon like I'm looking like Quidon was like already extremely serious like I'm looking like him being like extremely angry uh at like Go and then probably like it is folding go like the like the conflict the scenario that I'm looking. So like then like go quickly rushing towards like that and go quickly rushing towards that like location where like the project mission will be and I'm also like it will be like fight it will be like even while go will be like showing up like I was still like the sales my still won't be like won't have like found Reggie like the scenario that I was in. So like after go shows up like I'm looking like go once again being called in person by like the scenario that I'm going to bring. Yeah, like I'm going to like eventually like them eventually searching and basically covering the gears and finally like them like having that rain battle with like against like a regular like the scenario that I'm going to bring. So like the first thing reminders the represents or like those showing up to like that first new mission is also bring to be like the first mission to like capture regular like those showing up to that like late and then like I'm just like there will definitely that first mission there will definitely be like Gary as well as like Tokyo or like Sorak, especially when I was trying to so yeah. And I'm also trying like eventually then finding like that point just and I'm also trying like at that point I'm also like go totally to be already extremely insecure with that thing. By then like definitely according to my preferences and I'm also trying like in getting a lot of scolding from Kiron. So like I'm also going to be like totally insecure and I'm also trying like in that event raid battle like I'm just going like go alone probably messing up in like that raid battle as well like the eventual scenario that I was doing and like still like carry totally making up for like and go totally making some sort of like a mistake in like that raid battle to capture by the like the scenario that I'm doing yet like carry would be like the one that I'm to like probably make up for like those mistakes and still eventually ending up with like the raid battle eventually ending up with like it being a success with like eventually like ridiculous being defeated and come to something like it won't be Quidon, but like I'm just saying, like Gary even outperforming even Quidon and Gary being like the one to like catch the ridiculous with like the scenario that I'm leaning more to and my preferred structure. So that would be like a full blow to that go. It's like the scenario that I'm going go when you're totally feeling that once again he's like lagging behind everyone and especially Gary would be like even way more than Tokyo like go Gary would be that that opponent like that trainer that go would be right now being like if like he just current rival that like go the trainer would be wanting to like defeat it's definitely my preference. So like I'm also saying like that way like go only getting in the project we can go eventually only getting his like spotlight of a moment only during like the final project we can just spotted to like basically find new like it was only in that final main mission that I'm also saying like even the main mission I'm also saying go being like extremely kind of like insecure and tense and nervous and then also like go making a lot of mistakes even in like the main project missions like the scenario that I'm looking yet like I'm looking finally when it comes to like the raid battle like I'm looking like go surprisingly performing way better than like Gary and all of that it's like the scenario that I'm looking and That way, like even though Go doesn't have like only have experience in like Pokemon catching, like when even though Go only have has like very less experience when it comes to like Pokemon that we get like was doing some so in a miraculous manner, like was covering like the scenario to be like Go performing even way better than like Gary and the others who have way more experience than Go in like Pokemon that like still Go miraculously performing even way better than them and like Ember like it would be like the final attack would be Go's to Delion's like attack that would be like uh most likely that would be like seriously like bring it down and maybe defeat it with like the scenario that I'm talking that final attack would be from like those Inteleon's like the scenario that I'm talking and that will like go throwing his like and will like go even catching most likely since like I think like Go had thought like Suicune using his like I think using his like Pokeball simple Pokeball and those were like even like the great or for like a Pokemon as like Mew as well. Like Go catching Mew as well using this like Pokeball, simple Pokeball is like the scenario that I'm looking at. That way, like Go catching Mew is like the eventual scenario that I'm looking and not the brain. And my getting brain impression was like at that point, about to my brain impression numbers are only like Ash by then would have only defeated Leon, that undefeated champion Leon and his gas would have by then like became the new top champion, like the champion among champions, like basically the top ultimate trainer, the number one trainer, like actually now achieving this like ultimate trainer and go. And it like even after all that, like I'm also trying like as continuing on this like would be like continuing on his like journey with like go until go achieve this like dreams of like capturing new. And so like I'm also thinking while so be like struggling in that race battle to capture new and basically like all while all this would be happening like I'm also thinking like the champion as like basically watching from like the sidelines and clapping and cheering on though. There's like the winter scenario that I'm also looking at the rain. So like according to my represent the point like once like during like those like ultimate main project were like go and like the phases would be like the training testing for like define new like at that point I was like as totally tagging along the champion Ash so it would be like champion by then like totally tagging along with them and basically with like Ash having like no role at all to play there it's like the scenario that I'm doing yet like I'm totally tagging along and basically like walking with them and like it's like the scenario that I'm referring. So like through that entire journey till like go captures like me like actually be just also cheering from the sidelines. Especially my implementation that I'm thinking on and like the the reason for this as well I'm referring like it won't be like but more than like as a friendship towards world like I'm looking the main reason for like such a scenario I'm referring will be due to that as totally most likely feeling like absolutely empty once he would be defeating Leon and the undefeated Leon and becoming like the ultimate champion, like number one champion. Like at that point, I was looking like Ashton, who had this like goal to be like the ultimate number one champion for so long. Like I was looking like want that to be like uh, getting achieving that goal. Like I was looking at that point, like Ash totally being blank and basically totally feeling like so empty and like confused and as to like as at that point won't be having like any goal at all like basically as achieving that goal like I won't have any new goals at that point and basically at that point like as to be totally confused and feeling empty and like as I'm maybe feeling kind of like disturbed as well so like I'm like at that point, like I was going like it would be like the professor that would be not likely maybe like professor of that would be like most likely by congratulating Ash like hope like only noticing how Ash is like only feeling empty after becoming with example. So like I'm looking it to the hope that I was looking like professor of that would be telling Ash as to like basically that like with that goal down like Ash needs to like search for like and create a new goal and work towards achieving that new goal. Like basically along the lines of the like professor of would be like encouraging Ash. Just like the scenario that I'm looking at. Yet like I'm looking like even at that point Black Ash would like totally need some time for him to like be able to like figure out like what goal that Ash should set up next into like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like I'm looking like Ash totally trying to come up with like a new goal, but like Ash not being able to do that. Uh, at that point, it's like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like Ash totally feeling as if like he needs to like he would like require some time before like he would be able to like figure out what it is that like Ash would uh, want to do next as like next goal. So like I'm saying, like it will be during this time where Ash should be like only confused and only blank and feeling empty and without him having any sort of new goal. Like it will be during this time that I'm looking like maybe like as for me deciding to like tag along go for like goals like ultimate like first new final mission to like substance find and capture new. So like I was thinking that eventually I was thinking in like as for me tagging along even after becoming like a champion like as for like tagging along with goals and like as being there on the sidelines like until like to witness the moment where like go finally captures in that race that you will be finally capturing it's like given the scenario that I'm just again on the real real persons that like go after like you will be like eventually capturing news like I'm just like at that point like in the case of go like I'm just like yeah, even after like go achieving like ultimate goal capturing news like unlike as like I'm just like in go if like go if being able to like set up another goal like the scenario that I'm doing so much great delay like I'm just go being able to like set up like a new goal in his life and that will be most likely new to is definitely my goal and just to capture like those setting up his like next goal to be like to capture new to is definitely the scenario that I'm looking for and especially with like new to I think like having two different mega evolutions like I'm different like that I'm also trying like would be like eventually what like I'm also trying like go I'm also trying that way like setting up this new goal and that will be most likely to capture me too and in that goal like I'm also like eventually in that the future even though like I'm also trying like goes journey to like capture me too I'm also trying not being prevailed at all to like the future yet like I'm also trying like a cameo like entrance or like appearance of go in like the distant future where like Go and Ash would be like running into each other in like the distant future, and at that point, like Ash being totally shocked at seeing that Go having like achieved that goal as well to like get the move, and Go totally having his like new with him, like basically Ash being shocked, and at that point is when I'm following Go most likely like maybe like possibly maybe like slight chance of like Go even having like a bad view pass like goes like new to whom considering like that new to by then like Go would have even like and then considering like that even by then like Go would have like finally found his like mega stone to like the major also like new Go. So like I'm like most likely scenario to be that having like being so extremely finding like that mega unit of like Go extremely cool and I'm like I totally don't think that it's starting from like a bad so and really like mega like constantly sort of like about this and other number of things. So like that way and Ash versus like Joe Patton it's like bringing to the scenario that I was able to and like the still picturing which like I was saying like it would be like Ash himself like that would be like me. Even though will be like at that point you think it's like mega evolved like in that battle against Ash like I was saying like still Ash's Pokemon being like strong enough to already able to like probably or and defeat like the Mega Mew like the scenarios that I'm looking at and that way I'm defeating Go and it's like Mega Mew those like playing with different types of scenarios that I'm looking for the thing I'm looking and in that fight I'm dealing more of the probability of like as more likely using like Pikachu and as it being like as Pikachu that would be like at that point would be having some sort of like a new powerful like that Pokemon which like as and his like Pikachu defeating like the Mega Mewtwo so in like the distant future. It's like a distant future possible scenario that I'm looking at the prediction and the range. Okay, so like the feeling of the three impression right now is for like the like those phone right now being unlocked by just like speedest thing of like Pokemon. Like basically that's like watching like the videos of like the sober evolution line like the silencing Teleon like and those are like especially because of the things this thing like being so interested in like the sober evolution line videos like I'm thinking like it might be like I'm right now dealing most of the probability of like it not being Gengar but like I'm thinking like the thing that is like actually watching all the videos and but then like those phone and those friends it might actually be like a sobble a random sobble Pokemon that might have totally integrated into like the into the room of like Ash and Gold in like what the rose long roses like definitely what might have happened. It definitely was it could be just like a random sobble and since Sobel has such the power to like basically like turn themselves into like almost like invisible using their ears like things like Sobel have that ability. This will be the reason for like even like the button, even like the touch, touch screen when like the thing touch of like the touch screen, like basically it's like limbs, it's like are not visible, especially microphone. So like it would be like actually a social. That's like right now checking out like physically checking out like those phones, definitely memory. So like the password unlock like might have happened solely due to like sheer luck for that. So it's definitely memory. So definitely the scenario that I'm considering is for like the sober to like watch the like sober watching the videos of like the sober investment line of those like sober like those sober like turning to silent video like basically and the like by the time like this Pokemon which would be not like a sober like would be done watching like the entire journey of like those sober to all the way to like eventually ending up being Inteleon and its journey as like an Inteleon like once like this Pokemon would be done watching like the entire video like at that point I'm Pokemon like most likely go, and that would be like returning back to their own like the scenario that I'm going to be. So like at that point, self I'm going to be like the sober would be like remaining in it like camouflage, like invisible kind of like a state, and to be like at least escaping from that room at that point is like the scenario that I'm going to be. And at that point, like go being like kind of confused as to like why it's like Rockapon is like unlocked, is like the scenario and the videos are playing it, it will be like around the lines like go be like confused like the scenario that I'm looking and right then itself I'm looking like go most likely receiving like another call from like Twilon where like I'm looking like Twilon will be like extremely will be totally scolding go for like not picking up with like earlier calls with like the scenario that I was like so like, and I'm like just like happened towards like the end of the episode where like I was like go picking up the call from like Quidon and Quidon straight away telling go about like this like about like the next Proj.Mew mission for like in which like all the chasers alone are involved are going to be involved in and that would be like the capture the Reggie like Proj.Mew mission which like I'm still thinking my impression that like, it will be Gary that will be like performing the best and like would even be succeeding in like capturing like the releasing Gary. I'm going to bring definitely ending up being Gary. It's like the scenario that I'm looking that way like Gary even performing better than Pidon and like the world. So like the scenario that I'm looking for. So yeah, and I'm only like so like basically from the my personal review impression and this is something right now for like the current majority of the big so like is really taking up with like the interpreter for Pokemon usually most likely a sober like watching it like the videos of like those sober reaching its like intelligent stage and this is on that it goes like sober journey reaching all the way to that intelligent while like towards the end of the episode go showing up go picking up the phone ringing and that would be like the phone call of Zero go picking up like the call and basically put on revealing about like the about new should be like chapter really that and like in like the next episode like basically the entire next episode like we see that the project new into like chapter really that and towards the end of that episode like basically Gary capturing like the really gas in that trade battle it's just like the scenario that I'm looking for right now I'm looking for also the clean out of reimpression right now with like the whole journey of like go and forward reaching all the way to like interview and their journey together like basically being related in such a manner like I'm going so like in like the very next episode where like under the like it will be like a cross musician to like capture like the reality that in that residential phrase that in the jungle in the heart and feel like especially fighting on against like all the cases like fighting against including the fighting against like the religious in that fight like definitely I'm looking so uh for go to like definitely uses like the Inteleon Pokemon itself like specifically it's like Inteleon again to fight and bring down that religious like the scenario that I do. So like regardless of like even if like the series will be like using more than a single Pokemon and the one still like it will be precisely go and it's like Inteleon. So that will be getting a lot of spotlight. And I'm leaning more to the possibility for like it not being like a positive kind of like a spotlight because of like uh because of those insecurities like the whole coordination between like Go and his like Pokemon Inteleon like failing and basically that causing like they to go making like mistakes like Inteleon as well making mistakes in that battle like the scenario that I was yeah, like I'm looking the main spotlight will be for like both intelligence in that whole battle against like the among both Pokemon like the main spotlight would be for like both intelligence in that rain battles against like the ridiculous like the scenarios that I'm looking for like the next episode. So, you know, okay, so like the name of like of the rain version right now is that it is among like the current selected five chasers for like the Proj.Mew mission, like including like the sixth person, like the leader, like Professor Amaran, like they lead among all the six uh, people, like and like it might have been only go alone that might have might have been able to like came into like contact with like new. I definitely remember premise, but like the significance of this ambassador to be one main reason, and on top of that, like ambassador, like even in like right now, ambassador also for like another possible scenario where like ambassador like in like the towards like the climax of like the first new mission, once like they will be like finding where ambassador for them to like for that to like eventually find new and then to have like the ultimate rail battles against like new where like ambassador in that rail battle ambassador and even the leader like Amaranth as well be participating in that rail battle against like new like the scenario that ambassador and in that rail battle like the other person that ambassador really for like new to be like so exceptionally strong that like even far beyond the expectations of like even like the Amaranth and his like chasers team that ambassador even with like ambassador like most likely at that point I'm dealing with the like the shape is definitely most likely using like at least three Pokemon. Each of like the individual series, maybe including Amaranth as well, like using three Pokemon most likely. Each of them using three Pokemon and each of them fight in that real battle like fighting new together and it's like the scenario that I'm looking with like one like each of the individuals like a single Pokemon gets defeated by you like them replacing that with like another Pokemon one of like the second Pokemon and third Pokemon. It's like the scenario that I'm looking. So like in that battle, the other Pokemon that I'm looking is strong, like usually like so exceptionally strong, even beyond their expectation that they really all of their Pokemon, like all of their Pokemon being defeated by new. It's like the scenario that I'm looking. And the last remaining Pokemon would be maybe like Go and his like Inteleon. So like I'm looking like Inteleon and Go giving it their absolute best and basically get like even Inteleon being defeated by EU. It's like also like an initial possible scenario that ends up doing. That way, like especially while Amaranth and his like and like his fight chaser team like with Go Gary Tokyo, like all of them like Tilon and all of them would be like only feeling as in like they have failed in their new mission to like capture new like once like they will be all killing that defeated with like all of their Pokemon being like defeated by new and youth still standing and staying strong. Like at that point, I'm referring while they were already feeling as like their original mission has ended up in a failure. Like at that point, I'm referring like you like coming forward and towards like exactly where we're just standing and basically like new the Pokemon new itself like selecting go to be its friends. Maybe due to like new might have totally on top of that Go being like the only trainer that has came into contact with me in like the past would be like the scenario among like the chasers as well as events between like Amaranth like to be go alone that would have probably came to contact with like the past like or even way more that like that kind of and like to be mainly due to that maybe first performance in that raid battle you might have only felt might have that it was like the best like so and so like Inteleon's like fight performance was like the best in that whole rail that like in new like along the lines like new feeling and a new feeling along the lines and so like new totally feeling as like goes like the only Pokemon only one among like those five chasers as well as like Amaranth like between them like goes like the only person that's like deserving of new basically music maybe singing along the lines and basically that way like new basically even though you would have by then defeated all of their Pokemon like even including those in Teleon like still even after that battle like new straight away while in front of all the others like new straight away flying towards like go and like new like trying to like communicate to go and basically go would be like instantly by like news like body language like I'm looking like most likely go understanding it or like I'm looking like Gary will be like telling go that basically that you has chosen you go to be it's like trainer like basically so like in such a manner like basically go like taking out his like Pokeball and like you willfully entering like the Pokeball and basically that way that being like the eventual scenario like a conclusion in through which like how go will be captured is like the other possible scenario that I'm doing only putting and my professor okay, so like definitely the Korean production right now as for like the video message as a hit sends to go goes out of one like they're detailing talking about like those like resourceful battling style. Like definitely the Korean version that like it might have been Asahi herself that might have edited that like video message and basically before sending it and I'm looking like Asahi definitely would be having like taking quite might have secretly have like quite a liking towards like Joe, and hence why like after he might have put in that called resourceful battling style detail into like when during like the detailing of like Go in that video message was given definitely my preference. So maybe I'm but point like it might be this like after him secretly taking quite like simply having like an affectionate feeling towards Go. It's like one to the data or like I'm it might have been for like after he to make but since like the video message details now like each of like the chase of like since like as a human only being like the Proj.Mew as like extremely important mission like since like that video message like since like as a hit from as a point of view as I would the only thing that like, they would definitely eventually succeed in like capture and new and like even as a hit and also from like won't be placed in any hopes that like go being like the one to see it like capture new but never with rebel. So like as a hit while creating like the video message like when it came to like the detailing in like the video message about like those character like as like a saver like as I might have not been able to like find any sort of like good points to praise Joe is that name of the strength other than those like investigative skills. So the name of the strength. So like I'm wondering as I might have totally casually to that like simply add like the add like the like the soulful pattern style info of like Joe. That what might have been what might have happened especially my perspective, especially with like Go even when Go like the video talks about like Go having got more than some of Pokemon like especially since like then, like the majority of like the great number of Pokemon that Go has got, like Go had fought them without like having the need to like basically without like any Pokemon that like Go had fought against. The majority of those Pokemon, and especially since like Go have very less experience in like Pokemon battle, and that's simply because of like even in like Inteleon state, like it would be my preference is that like it would be most likely due to like Inteleon being so successfully strong as like a Pokemon would be like the potential reason for like being able to like even succeed to find it of like an extent with like in Delion in some battles and especially since like even in like the project official Proj.Mew raid battle that basically Go had like basically the resourceful trainer was in fact Gary where like Go was like the one that was like constantly making like all sorts of mistakes where like Gary and Tokyo had to like make up for like those mistakes and hence like even Gary as well as like Tokyo were like the most exhaustive ones that were to like think of solutions like while Go was like the one to like make all the mistakes and makes things like happen for them like and especially because of this reason like the remembering like even Asahi might know that like get like like Asahi might have added that just so that like so that like Asahi might be totally thinking along the lines that like definitely they will be like succeeding in like capturing you eventually towards the end of like the first new mission. So like at that point like this like that point like Asahi would be totally think that like that will be such great accomplishment at that point. And at that point like Asahi will be totally thinking that basically at that point like just video like detailing out like each of like the chases details like would be going viral, probably going viral and they will be so at that point, for like just one of like the chases go specifically looking at it, like is not qualified to be like one of like the chase of like to avoid such a scenario might be the reason for like Asahi might have likely added that detail that like both has like a resourceful battling style into that message or like it might have been due to like Asahi secretly having that feeling like affectionate feeling towards go. So like I'm not going to do solely due to that media the hit thinking of like basically having that the soulful battling style switch into like the detailing of go in that video message detailing like giving the details of each of like the chapters of like the official mission might have been what might have happened. It's definitely my personal reaction. Okay, so like definitely another story I'm concerned right now is like I'm watching like the Pokemon radio show as usual and it's lead up like the topic being like that of child insurance. Like I'm looking right now for like the first message to be I'm looking most likely from Pixar, like the other assistant of like Professor sorry like the scenario that I'm looking. So like I'm looking right now and Pixar might be might have been childhood friends, might have been friends since childhood all the way back since childhood. But remember the person. So like remember the friend still for like the different like Akrita to like send her message in such a way that like it would be like still in like an anonymous manner. It's like the scenario that I'm about like giving any sort of clues as to like to as to like to some person to send like the messages even from the other friend or so. So definitely like like and I'm referring in her message like her detailing and talking about talking about saying a lot of things about like her friendship with like her and since like they were from their childhood. It's like the from their childhood is like the scenario that I'm yet like I'm uh, like the still I'm like due to like the anonymity of like the way in which like that message receives like the scenario that I'm able to bring around even after hearing that message like I'm able to like I'm still not being able to like figure out that like that message also actually resign basically that message is about when it's like the scenario that I'm able to bring when still not being able to like, figure it out. It's like the scenario that about the thing. And specifically about the emotion that like Tusa definitely have that serious even to the person they definitely will be having that serious of my feeling towards that Ryan, but like I'm to so like that's maybe one of the impressions that like Tusa was like afraid of like what like the Ryan's like responsibility like that really tells uh, around about like how she feels about friends, about her feelings towards that around. It's definitely my temporary impression. So like due to the reason I'm about to like so right now probably maybe I'm about to like we might be using this like the fact that like the rent totally loves and always watches this like a radio show talk show like I'm considering like it's right now I'm considering maybe Krista might not be at all interested in like this radio talk show at all. Like this would be like her sending all this message to like the radio talk show would be her attempt her way to like try to get her feelings across to Ren is definitely that like feel of Ren is definitely one of the example. So like I'm assuming maybe towards like the end of like the series, like Ren finally being finally realizing that like that message of is actually is like the scenario that I'm assuming. So like I'm assuming like Ren most likely will be finding out about like having like what may feel towards Ren. This might be the case like and I'm assuming like Ren probably finally figuring that out it could be most like the through like one of like sort of like final radio message. Like I'm looking like Krista sending radio messages like in that show like over and over again and until eventually so like maybe very affectionate for like two scenarios for like like with me sending more and more messages like in like a radio show expecting like trying to be able to like get it and realize that basically that Krista have that how the things towards like rent, but like I was when no matter how much like I was depending on the like and first I would be like I was sending up message like once like first I would be like especially even observing like rent like if rent is able to like figure out through the message that like it's like talking about rent like basically first I would be like stealthily spying on like rent as well while rent would be hearing each of these messages through the radio so it's definitely not with rent so yeah, like I'm also like each time chapters are being disappointed with like painfully realizing that Ren simply doesn't is not getting it like it's really not being able to like understand that actually like what the message is and basically what the message is trying to like convey and all that like the scenario that I was putting until eventually Krista sending her final message and in that message as well I'm was like Krista would be like definitely I think like Krista would do definitely most likely have it sending that message by a nickname Stephanie so like that message around the super like that eventually reaching a point where like Krista would be sending a final message and even in that message like it would be written that like it's like her final message. So like the other person in like the thing of it like who would be in like the radio talk show like they would be also uh, reading like the message and saying that it's not final message. Yes, the message says that it's not final message. Like so, like and I'm wondering it could be in that final message. And I'm wondering like even in that final message, I'm wondering like maybe for like Aaron still not being able to like understand like actually it's not trying to tell Aaron that she loves him. It's definitely my good friend. But yeah, like even in that like final message as well, Aaron won't be like getting it. That and I'm wondering like it will be after that, like I'm bring that maybe it will be after that, like I'm bring that after a while, like I went probably thing of like that message, and basically maybe at that point seeing like when we be like social media realizing that it was Rizza all along, and basically that way like Aaron totally maybe like approaching straight away approaching going on Shikrasa and telling Rizza how that future things the same about Rizza is like the even the scenario that I'm looking over bring into the industry. Okay, so like the necessary assumption right now as for like acts in like the earlier first new mission battle, raid battle of Go Gary, in this like Go Gary and Tokyo, as well as like Ash was taking part in that raid battle against like Arctic, in that battle for like Ash to totally mainly remain silent and Ash not coming out, but coming up with like any sort of strategy and like Ash even taking orders from Go uh as to like how to battle in that battle against like Articuno and all that like it was something like especially the very same Ash who's like right now about to face off against like the top trainer like the undefeated champion Leon like that very same Ash back then like basically take orders from even Joe as well as like as that very same as like not coming up with any strategies or like to basically fight Hasik, and remain silent throughout then that reflect the brain that number when that might be solely due to like most likely as having like maybe like having like zero absolute zero experience fighting in like a raid battle is definitely my brain. So even though Axe might be fully confident in his like skills, in his like battling skills while battling by himself, even if it's like a double battle skill, if it's like Ash alone, just like fighting off in like a single battle against another trainer, like that would be like the only scenario in which like currently Ash would be like confident. Ash would be totally and totally confident about his skills while fighting by himself, but like while fighting as like fighting along with like a group, like as in like the real battles, like understanding as might not have that much of like a confidence in battle. Definitely one of the emerging as they right now would go like basically in that battle like basically against like Arctic, would like go making like so many multiple mistakes and like definitely one of the impressions that like maybe most likely during that battle definitely like the footage might have definitely been recorded through like the whole flying rock or something. It's definitely one of the impressions. But like through that battle like through that like go doesn't have a resourceful batting style by so repeatedly making all those mistakes all of that those decisions like ending up being like a mistake and being that big would it have ended up being such a burden to like not only Gary but Tokyo as well. Like basically like even back then I was preparing like Hasahi who might have checked like that video footage of that battle against like that raid battle against like Arctic, this like go Gary and Tokyo as was in like I'm preparing like back then it will went Asahi as well as like Quidon might have like check that video footage itself like they might have only figured that basically easily that basically go certainly doesn't possess any sort of like a resourceful battling style would be one thing like they might have totally felt like Asahi as well as like Quidon might have totally felt even from way back then it's definitely not the reimbursement. And definitely, I was reimbursed that even to represent a like Asahi as well as like Quidon would be of like that very same opinion, definitely not the